Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to introduce a couple of pieces that might help you with this project. You want to use some kind of tripod and mount your camera to that so you have stability for your project. And also, if you want to use your cell phone, you can. I have this other product here. Well, you can also buy a bracket here for your tripod here, and your phone sits inside this bracket here. This one's by a company called Joby. The other one I think that's really cool is you can get one of these little tiny tripod stands. And again, it has the cell phone mount there, so you can take your phone and you can just mount it right into this thing. And with something like this, you could just shoot it from your camera pointing at you. You could shoot it yourself, and this would sit on the desk here and never move. So something like that, like a Joby product. I'm not a spokesperson for Joby, but that's the only brand I've bought. Or something like a tripod, with a cell phone mount. Or you can just use a regular camera mount and mount your camcorder on there. But that'll give you stability, and it'll make your video flow much better and look more consistent. So give it a try. If you decide you want to work alone, you can use something like a tripod or a desk tripod mount and use your cell phone too. Hello, welcome back. This week we are going to jump into Hitfilm and we're going to create a stop motion sequence based on a sequence of photos that you're going to snap. In this project, you'll want to, like your typical stop motion, you'll want to snap a single picture of your subject, then slightly move it, then snap the second picture, then slightly move your object, snap. So basically, you're going to have to take the pictures one at a time. For this project, I want you to avoid blast mode on your camera. If you do that, you are going to be marked down. Mark my words. Okay, so before we do anything, though, we need to get our photo sequence onto my computer here. My desktop's pretty messy, but I'm going to make another folder anyway, just because I'm used to it. So new folder, and we're going to call this photo sequence for stop motion. Something like that. Whatever you want to call it, it's fine. Just as long as you know where your photos are. So now that I have my folder here, I'm going to go to iCloud because I took my photos on an iPhone. I'm assuming a lot of you are going to take them on your smartphone. So I'm going to download those off of iCloud and then get them into my folder over there. So let me show you that process here. Okay. Okay, so first thing you want to do is go into iCloud or whatever cloud service you're using, or maybe you just want to plug your phone into your computer and transfer the photos from your phone to the computer. So going into iCloud here, I'll find my photo sequence. And again, you're probably going to be safe for length, shooting somewhere between 75 and 100 photos for your time. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to our photos here. I just uploaded these, so they should be pretty easy to find. Oops, one more time. Okay. And let's go to recents, maybe. And there they are. So notice there I have them all shot in front of a green screen, or a green poster board is what I used. I got it at a hobby shop. So I'm going to start with this photo here on the top. And what you do is you select your first photo. Let's go back down here. Select your first photo and then go all the way down to the last photo. While you're holding the shift button down on your keyboard, select the last photo. And notice there it gets all of them. All right. So probably the easiest thing to try, you may try this, is to grab it and just drop it into your folder. But if that doesn't work, what you can do is just click the cloud there with the arrow going down, right? We're going to download these photos onto our computer. So you can see my arrow up here at the top and the circle going around. So we know it's working. So we'll let that download. Okay, so if we go to the downloads window here, there's my photo folder. Now notice here, if I click on it, well, better yet, let's bring it in. Let's bring it over to our desktop first, and I'll show you what's going on here. You notice that there's a zipper on the folder here. That's because it's a zip file, and we have to unpack it, right? So what we're going to do is just extract all of our information from that by right-clicking on the actual folder. And you should have some kind of extract function on your computer. Mine just says extract all here. Macs, same way, you can unzip your files. So click extract all. And we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to send it right to the desktop, just like this other zip folder. Okay. And it'll be named the same thing, but there won't be a zipper on it. So let me minimize this real quick. Click extract. And once it's completed, you'll see a new folder pop up on the desktop here. It's probably going to occur over here in the lower left. Actually, upper left. And there it is. Okay, so notice here it's the same name as the other one over here, except it doesn't have a zipper on it. So we don't really need this zipped one anymore. So I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to send that to the trash can. Then we're going to take these photos here. Notice it created a folder within a folder, and we're just going to drag them into our photo sequence folder. Okay, so I'm going to select my first one, go all the way down to the last one, hold down Shift, and then just left click and drag that whole series of photos into the folder that you want. Okay, and that's going to transfer those over, so we're good there. So I no longer need this folder, so I'm going to delete that one as well. Okay, so here's our photo sequence, and we should have everything in there for our stop motion. Okay, so now that we have our photos all set up here, we've got our photo sequence for our stop motion right here. Now we're going to open up Hitfilm, and we're going to import those photos into the program, okay? So I put my icon for Hitfilm on my taskbar on the bottom here, so I'm going to click on that. All right, so now we have power. Don't have to worry about the battery dying. So Hitfilm takes a few seconds to load, obviously. And probably the first thing you want to do is just create new up in the upper left. Control N is your universal new file creation. But create new. And according to our assignment sheet, right, the specs are, we want to make this 720 pixels, 720 wide by 540 high. So I'm going to just click in there and type the numbers. And notice what happens here. Uh-oh. Notice whenever I put one number in, it changes the other one, right? So that's happening because our aspect ratio, we're telling the program to preserve aspect ratio. So any number you put in, it's going to change the other number to preserve that same aspect ratio regardless of size. So to have individual control over your width and height numbers, you just want to click this chain here to unlink it. So in other words, we're breaking the chain here. So now I can type in 720 and then go down here and type in whatever I want, right? Even though it was already 540, and it won't change the other one. So 720 by 540, and we accomplish that by unlinking the chain between these two. Frame rate is going to be 10 frames a second, so we're going to change that to 10. And I think I'll start off with my duration about 10 seconds, maybe. So instead of 5 hours here, I don't know why they set us up for 5 hours. We're going to change that 5 to a 0 there, and then go to the next set of numbers here and change that to 10. So basically we have 10 seconds, 0 frames, 720 by 540 pixels at 10 frames a second. Click OK. Okay, and here we are. So here's our Hitfilm file here. Now I don't need my meters here, so I'm going to close this panel. You can customize your panel any way you like. I'm going to close this trimmer too. I just like to have one screen on here, but you can have dual screen if you want. I prefer this layout, so you may want to customize your layout a little bit. Let's bring this down so we can have a bigger monitor window. But I like the way Hitfilm is already set up. I mean, they really did a good job with the interface here versus the older versions. And it's all still very customizable. But I kind of like to leave it this way because I know where all of my controls are. So over here we've got our media. Oops, let me maximize that again. Over here we've got our library. This would be our our freebies that we can use as far as music goes, sound effects, templates. So you have a lot of options in here too to use. And media here is where we bring in our clips. This is where you'll see all your raw files. And it's just a nice layout. So what we're going to do first is import the pictures. So if you notice down below here, we have a media tab, but underneath that, we have an import. Okay. And you can also access that under file as well, file import. But I'm just going to click this import here. I'm going to click this little arrow just to the right of it. So import, and we're going to import what's called the image sequence. Okay. And what that'll do is it'll take all your individual photos and it'll make a whole movie out of them automatically for you. Okay. So we're just going to use image sequence. Okay, and notice there we're already set up on pick sequence on another. Now I put this on the desktop, so I'm going to imagine that I have to go there to get it. So desktop, and we're looking for our photo sequence for stop motion. There it is. Click into there, and same thing. You grab the first shot, go all the way down to the bottom of your screen, hold down Shift, and while you're holding down Shift, click the last one. And notice here it says image sequence files down here. All you have to do now is click open. And there it is, right? So now it's in your media here, which is good. You want to see that. So now all we have to do to get it on the timeline is grab it and drop it in. Okay. And so if I click on this, notice there, it looks pretty good. It's already a movie for me, right? There's some pauses there at the end that I'm troubled by. Like I'll show you right here. Right there. Seems like it was a little too slow there. So in the next part of the video, I'm going to show you how to slice clips and delete, things that you don't want to use, things you want to get rid of. And then I'll show you how to kind of combine it all back together as one clip. Okay, so now that we have our photo sequence on here, now I'm going to show you how to slice away some of those parts where it's slower. Like right here when they stop. It's a little slow when they're walking backwards, so I'm going to try to make that a little more in time with the rest of the video. So this is my scrub key along my timeline here. You can move this anywhere you want. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this clip. Now watch here, I can go down to the bottom here. Let me make this a little bit smaller here, just so you can see better. Go down to the bottom here. And notice here, I can zoom in on this timeline. So if I see this, these two magnifying glasses, drag that slider over to the right, and you're going to zoom in on it. So you have a little more room to look at where you're slicing. Okay, so I'm just watching it, and then it stops right there. So I'm going to basically go from right there is where it stops. So I just want about 1 or 2 frames of that. Maybe right there. I'm going to grab the razor tool in my editor here. There looks like a little razor blade right there, slice tool. And just go right on the line, and when this line turns red, click once on there and you've created a split between these two clips. Okay, so I'm going to zoom this over a little bit more. Probably just a 1 frame before the next move. So right back 1, right there. So I'm going to clip it right there too with my razor tool. Again, just when the line turns red, click on it. Okay, that's one right there. And let's see what else we've got going here. They step back a little bit, and then they stop. Back one more, and then there's a pause there. So let's go ahead and right there. So I'm gonna clip it right there, or slice it. Go over a few frames. Okay, so right there. Okay. So basically we're just getting rid of some of the parts where I have too many frames in the same position. So right there, so I'm gonna go back and grab my cursor tool here if I can find it. See, it was covered there. So I'm gonna grab my arrow tool. So right there is where they're paused. So I'm going to select that clip. You just click on the clip, and when it turns a lighter blue than the rest of the blue, just hit delete. Okay. Notice here I have several slices here. If you grab this tool right here on the toolbar, it's called the Track Select tool. A is your shortcut. Once you grab that, click on this first clip, and it'll grab all three of them. So you don't have to move each one individually. So that's a nice feature to have. And that's the Track Select tool here on the timeline. So now that these are all lined up, let's see where we have to delete away again. So right there, this middle clip. So I'm going to grab my arrow tool here. Just click that clip, hit delete, and now I can just drag this last clip over one. Okay, let's hit the home button here. And spacebar to play, or you have your play control up here on the monitor window. Notice there, they're cruising around. They're going pretty fast, actually. Okay, that looks a little better. So, and then the next thing I'm going to do is show you how to turn these three clips here. Since I created some slices, right? It made three individual clips here. This one, the second one, and this one. I'll show you how to turn these back into one clip. And it's simple. All you have to do is create what's called a composite shot. And that creates a new composition here for you. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go up, or we're going to go down here to New, down here in the Media tab. Click New, and we're going to do what's called a composite shot. So click Composite Shot. And for this composite shot, we'll just call this Final Movie, because this is the one that we're going to manipulate the speed of it. So Final Movie. Duration, again, let's make it 10 seconds to start. We're doing the same numbers as our other composition that we started. So Final Movie, 10-second duration. Width, of course, is going to be 720. Height is 540, just like we did before, and 10 frames a second. Okay, so it's the same specs as the original that we set up. Click OK. And here's our Final Movie. And here's our timeline for our Final Movie. So now all we have to do is take this previous clip and drag this into our Final Movie timeline. And voila, now we have one individual clip again. But notice here, once we put it in here, we see the real size of our movie. So let me show you how to fix that. Click on the Final Movie layer here. And once you're in the timeline, click that little arrow to the left here. And we're going to go to Transform. Okay, and we're going to look at some of these controls here. Let's make this a little bigger here so we can see it. In fact, let's make this full size here while we're at it. Okay, and we just customize that. So you have to move these out. Please do so. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go on to one. All we need to do is find one clip where we can see both dancers. Well, let's say right there, maybe. And we're going to drag these scale numbers. We're going to left click on these 100% numbers and drag to the left while we're holding the mouse button down. And notice there it's scaling it down into our canvas so we can see it better. You don't want to have any any frame around it. So there we go. And that looks pretty good. So that should do it for the rest of the movie too. So notice there, just by using that scale slider, we were able to get the video to fit in our screen. Okay, let's take a watch of it again real quick. That looks pretty good. Okay, looks pretty good. Maybe scale it down just a hair more so it doesn't cut off the top of their heads. Right there, that's perfect. Okay, so in the next part of the video, I'll show you how to control the speed of your overall movie. Okay, so we have our rate stretch tool right here in our final movie composition here. Notice there it's right here. So that's good. It's that squiggly line with the two arrows at the end, and it's right beneath the slice tool. But before we do that, I want to increase the time of this, because if I slow this down, this is going to become longer than 10 seconds. And since I set it up as 10 seconds originally, I want to go ahead and do that. So if you look, you could see some sliders here in the media window here where it says final movie. Click those little sliders right there inside there. And now here I can change this duration from 10 to, let's go 13 seconds here. Click OK. And there you can see I've increased the video itself to about 13 seconds. Okay. So let me go back to the viewer here so we can see this. And now watch, if you watch the scrub key here, the playhead, it's going to go past 10 seconds now. So, and I'm just showing you to demonstrate that you can, again, you can change the time of any of your compositions by clicking that little, looks like a little equalizer sliders there. Those are your properties right there in each of your compositions. You can do it in this one. You can do it in this one. You just click that little equalizer right there. Okay, so we got 13 seconds now. Now watch what happens when I utilize the rate stretch tool here. So I'm going to click on it again. It's a squiggly line here. You can go right to the end of a clip and watch. I can drag this out. Let's drag it out to 12 seconds. Okay, now watch. What it's going to do is it slows down your video if you lengthen it and add keyframes, right? So home key to get you back home, space bar to play it, and notice there it's playing a bit slower. So if you need to increase the time of your video to slow it down, you can do that. I know the dimensions or the parameters say within 5 to 10 seconds, but if it's close to that, you need to extend that a little bit, that's fine. Now let's say you want to do the opposite. You want to speed it up. Okay, no problem. What you do is you grab the rate stretch tool and you drag it to the left to shorten your video. So let me shorten this to about 8 seconds here and then watch what happens. Okay, home key, space bar to play it. And notice there it sped it up. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of how the rate stretch tool works. In my case, I would slow it down, so I'm going to increase that to about 12 seconds maybe. And it's okay if it exceeds the 10 seconds. It just should be somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds or somewhere around there. No less than 5 seconds, though, of course. Okay? And then what you could do here is go up to the top of the timeline here where the numbers are. Grab this and slide this over, and that'll change your duration. Okay? And that's the same thing as doing it over in here in your where your equalizer, your properties are. Now notice here, it's 13 seconds, but I dragged it to about 12. So I can, if I want, I can change it in here too. Click OK, and notice there it ends right at 12 seconds now. Okay, so that's kind of how it works with the stop motion. You import the photos in as an image sequence. You can resize them. You know, if you go into the layer itself under transform, drag the slider scale to resize the photos. And you can trim away some of the material if you have too many frames in one shot of the same thing. You can use the slice tool to trim those away. And then once you're done with getting your layout done and your slicing, you can create a new composition here under New. a new composite shot. And then in that composite shot is where you can apply your rate stretch tool to do your final speed. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, so mine plays at about 12 seconds at what I feel is the right speed. So I'm going to leave it there. And the next thing I'm going to do is render this thing out. So here's how I'd recommend that you do it. So you want to go up to, or go down to the timeline, sorry. See where it says export? You're going to click on that. And instead of to file, if you do that, it'll export it to file. Notice here it already sets it up as an MP4. So let's see what happens when we do it this way. _ your last name. In my case, it'll be Acker. And we'll click Save. Click Yes. And notice there it's automatically rendering it out. And it shows you the progress up here at the top. It's at 28, 32, now 34. And it just shows you the movie as it's rendering it out here. Once that progress gets to 100% there, it'll be completely done, and then you can watch it. Okay, that's all done. Now here, the reason why I wanted to show you this is because here they're using a default preset. It's called YouTube 1080p. Okay, so that's going to render it out at a certain size, and it's the lowest form of a high def, right? 1920 by 1080. So if I minimize this and I go to my folder where I saved it, you'll probably see some black bars along the edges. Okay, so here it is. So when you watch this, it looks pretty good. Okay. All right. So now we can take a look at this too in another way. We can right click on the file, go to Properties, and you can see here it's only 6 megs. It's a small file. But if you go to Details, it'll tell you the size of it. And notice there it's 1920 by 1080. So we've upped the size of it here. Now, if you want to get it to 720 by 540, so the next time you render, let's remove this one. So I'm going to right click it, remove tasks. Yes. And let's go back to our viewer. And let's try it again a different way. This time we're going to click export in the upper right of the timeline here on the bottom. We're going to choose add to queue. Contents is fine, or into out area. Into out area would be the area marked in blue, the whole project, so to speak, there. And then instead of YouTube 1080, let's try another one, right? Let's see if we can change it here. See where it says match source? So you'll want to click on that. Click match source. And that's all you need to do. And then what we'll do now is we'll figure out where we're outputting it. We're going to output it to that folder that I had before and overwrite the other one. So go to desktop here or wherever you have your folder. And I'm going to save it in my graphics folder under number 4. Okay. And instead of final movie, I'm going to call this _ Acker and overwrite the other one. And that should make it the size that you need to for this project, the required size. Okay. Go ahead and click Save. Yes, I want to replace it. And then remember, you have to hit, for this one, you have to hit Start Exporting in the upper right-hand corner. So go ahead and click Start Exporting. And there you can see that you still see the black bars along the edge. But notice the size here is 720 by 540. So you will want to save it out as 720 by 540 also. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now when we go to that file, here it is again.
Double click it. And there it is. Still got a delay there. So now what I can do is right click on it, choose properties. If I go to details, now you see it says 720 by 540. So that's what I'm looking for in the project, that you were able to maintain that resolution from the beginning to the end. And you can accomplish that again by using match content when you go to render it out.